Ladies and gentlemen, hello. So, without any further ado, we got Fernando, we got Chuck, and we got Ryan joining me on stage.
Whoa.
Another piece of housekeeping, we got girls with microphones. So if you raise your hand, the girls are over here is one.
Yeah, it's hot.
And we got another over there. So if you raise your hand, you could ask a question. You could direct it to any one of us, but I think mostly on this side. Listen, raise your hand, get a microphone, and let's chill. We got one.
So my question is probably to Ryan. Right, so if I'm a traditional e-commerce merchant, I want to integrate Dash into my checkout. Can you convince me that it will increase conversion?
Yes, so you mentioned conversion, so you understand e-commerce. On the merchant side, you know, we talk a lot about consumer adoption and what it's going to take for consumer adoption. And the reason that we do that is because all of us are consumers. Merchants have a very different set of criteria that they're concerned about on checkout. And here's what happens when you start adding new buttons to your checkout screen. When you add a Bitcoin button, your conversion rate drops. Now, why is that? Well, it's because your checkout page starts to look a lot like a NASCAR logo screen with, you know, Visa and MasterCard and American Express and PayPal and all these other things. The more that you add, the more that it kind of takes away from the user experience. And the second issue is a lot of people go, what's Bitcoin? And they click on Bitcoin, and pretty soon they're on Bitcoin websites, and they're not buying from you. So it's a real problem when you're trying to integrate a new payment system. Your primary concern is conversion. A secondary issue is, what does this cost? And so, you know, digital currencies have been marketed as this opportunity to lower the transaction costs, but you don't actually care. You care about conversion rates. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Conversion rates actually go up when you make the checkout process very easy. And there's actually two ways that we're dealing with this conversion issue. And these are not secrets, these are payments industry best practices in terms of what you do. And I can talk a little bit about the results. The first thing that we're going to do is you don't have to integrate Dash onto your checkout page. What you can do is you can integrate Dash into the Dash wallet through an app. And so you can access all of our users, all the people in this room and all the thousands of others and tens of thousands that are out there in the world. And they can search for you, and you can access those customers. Those are customers you would not normally get because they're not going to your website anyway. So we're going to bring you new customers to start with. They're going to be able to interact through the app. They won't even be presented with other payment options. They're already using the Dash app. And then they can check out, they can search your SKUs, they can do all kinds of things. Whatever experience you want to create on the platform. Now you're accessing new customers, incremental sales. Oh, and by the way, the transaction costs are really low. Now let's talk about the conversion fee and ease of use issue. And you could probably talk about this too, but on the conversion rate issue, when you make checkout easy, conversion rates go up. When people have to pull out their wallets and go into the other room and seek their credit card out and they're on their mobile device on the sofa, they may not go through that effort and actually go and make the purchase. But PayPal has done this. They integrated something called One Touch. What happens is the user is presented with the payment just from their username and password, and then they authorize the payment with their thumbprint on their phone. Users of, like a good conversion rate is maybe 40, 50% once they hit the checkout page. If you're really great, if you manage to store payments credentials and so on in your platform, in their repeat customers, you can get up to like 60, 70. This is like where Amazon is. PayPal one-touch customers, 87% conversion rate. They don't even need to type anything in. They put their thumbprint down, their payment information, their shipping address, their email address for the receipt, their phone number, all that stuff is just taken care of in the background. That's what the user experience is going to be like. So we're going to start with giving you new customers you wouldn't normally get. And when the time is right, when we've got the mass adoption, at that point, you can integrate a Dash payment button. They'll click on it. They'll enter their Dash username and hit enter. No password required. Their phone will buzz, and they'll hit the pay authorization button. And the rest is taken care of. We're going to match or exceed PayPal One Touch if you don't even need to enter your password. You're literally going to see conversion rates approach 90%.
I'd like to one-up you.
Okay.
I think I foresee a future where you won't have to worry so much about conversion rates for certain environments. And Andy and I, the CTO, were discussing the idea like Wikipedia. You land on Wikipedia, and there's that big banner up top where, you know, hey, donate, right? And I don't know what they get, like 3% of people actually donating. Now, if you are, I foresee a place where you'll be able to configure pre-authorizations of a certain kind. And should you visit a site like Wikipedia, and Wikipedia has this mechanism integrated, and you have pre-approved it, you have a pre-conversion. Maybe you set a limit as to how much you might donate to these environments, and it'll just ask for that approval automatically. There's no engagement. It'll just pop up, oh, we noticed that you're a Dash user. Would you like to donate? And you just hit OK and then verify it on your wallet, and you get a pre-conversion sale. That's the idea. So we're going to make it
This
exceed.
is turning payments into those flows that I referenced, things that fall into the background. You may donate only a few cents, but you can feel good about it. It's non-intrusive into your user experience, and it benefits both sides, both parties. So we're looking to create these types of experience. And what's exciting about Evolution is you, as a merchant, can create the user experience that you want. You get to decide how that interaction takes place.
Hi,
He gave me a thumbs up for that answer.
We
got a question over here?
to the conversion question.
hi. Slightly generic question here. Just wanted, sorry, here.
Oh, there we go.
Just wanted to ask, for each of you, what is the biggest fear that keeps you each awake at night to prevent the vision that you have for Dash?
I can start with that. I have a lot of fear. So the first thing is, you know, I brought those three areas. I look at those three areas on a daily basis. I'm constantly reviewing what's happening in the user space, what's happening in the technological space, what's happening at the organizational space. It's very reassuring to me that we're developing a legal structure where there are options as to how we work with the Masternode network, how we work with the trust, how we work as an incorporated group of the Dash core group. And so that reassures me in that way, so I feel very, very much settled on that particular front. On the user front, I'm very much afraid of failure in that the users won't be happy with what we deliver. I don't want to make a bad experience or a frustrating experience, and that's one of the things that I'm constantly concerned about and has caused debates within our team. We actually had a set of initial discussions back in, I want to say, May, June, let's say June-ish, when Darren came in with Darren Tapp, one of our mathematicians on the staff, came in and suggested, hey, if we do our passwords and encryptions in this particular way, then there is a 0.0000x chance of, you know, hackery or, you know, fudging going on. And we had to do some laps on how much information we're going to collect from the users in order to onboard them. And that caused me consternation because I hate bringing conflict into the development team, but I see that as my role as advocating for the users. I remember that we went through this process of consolidating and consolidating that user flow. And in order to achieve certain things, Darren had to go back and do research. He had to go back and do more math and figure out, okay, well, how can we make this work? Because that's too difficult for the users, Chuck says, all right? So I worry about that stuff. I worry about what the users, how difficult this is going to be for grandma. And again, on the other side, the technological side, I worry that we might be over-engineering. That's a big problem for us. I mean, not for us, I say us as developers. All developers tend to have a tendency to over-engineer things. So making things simple often means more complexity, but covered up with the simplicity of invoking and leveraging that complexity underneath. So in that way, like, those are the things that I'm constantly worrying about. And I think my biggest concern right now is, the people in this room, this community, we are hopefully planting the right seeds. And there may be people out there in this room who are investing, who are thinking of business ideas, who are building business models that we might destroy because we have done something that is unexpected for them. And to those people, I want to say, look, contact us, get in touch with us, because the way I look at it, we are emissaries of a money utility service. And that being the case, we want to help businesses build their models in such a way where they can build on top of our platform. Otherwise, the platform is worthless. And that's one of my biggest fears, is that the platform that we deliver is, in fact, worthless. Well, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that that's not the case. So, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Going next to that, I would say that we are making decisions every day around the project. And I think we have an amazing project. We have a great team. The fundamentals are all in place, but we need to execute. And executing is difficult. I'm worried that we may end up doing a mistake that costs us a lot. But the good thing we have is that we have a system in place that makes everything replaceable and most things solvable. But we still need to keep the basic things in place. One of them is keeping the team. I mean, we need to have top team developing, and we need to take care of them. And I'm worried that we inadvertently do something wrong and alienate them. I think that a new team would emerge somewhere, but this is a project that is completely alive 24/7, and there are decisions being made all the time. And sometimes you make mistakes, so the consequences of those mistakes I'm worried about every day. Also, not being a tech guy, sometimes I'm worried about these guys when they stop talking in their language. They start talking in their language and talk about risk and vulnerabilities. You get scared, but you need to trust that the good people is in charge and they are fine. And being a lawyer, also, some people always ask me, are you worried about regulation? Because that's the talk of the day, with China banning temporarily ICOs and that kind of stuff. And I'm not really that worried. I'm worried to a point because they can harm crypto a lot, governments. But I also think that what we are doing is good for the people. Most people will benefit from a healthy cryptocurrency space. So if governments are what they say they are, which is a representation of the people, and they are looking for the good of the people, there may be troubles along the way. There may be laws that we don't agree with. We'll work out things. But I think in the end, it will be okay, because we are providing things that the traditional financial system doesn't provide. We are serving people that it's not being served. So I think in the end, there will be a way to avoid all damage that can come from regulation. I'm sure the space in 5 years won't look anything like today, like it doesn't look anything like 3 years ago. But whatever problem we have, I'm confident it can be solved. So regulation, yeah, let's worry about it. It's important. It's a hot topic, and they can make our life more complicated. But the big picture is we are doing something good. So that should end up prevailing.
I'll give a very short answer to this one, which is I think that we can spend a lot of time worrying. I try not to worry about things that are outside of our immediate control. And I think we have a mentality as a team of being fearless. I don't see a lot of fear on the team. I see a lot of people that are passionate and really believe in the vision and are pursuing it with 110% of their being. It's crazy. I've never been on a team like this.
Agreed.
With
yeah.
a true mission in life. And so when you're operating with a mission, fear doesn't really come into it. I would say risk mitigation is a big part of it. And what I worry about is, are we making any decisions that will be more difficult to re-engineer if we do them wrong? Because at the end of the day, we need to get this absolutely right. We need to get it as close to perfect as we can be. And so if that requires taking a little bit extra time and care to make sure that we're delivering on that promise, I worry that we're skipping steps or making a decision that might impact users or something like that. So that's where I think a lot of the team's attention is on just making sure that the execution and the delivery goes exactly as we plan.
Yeah, yeah. And on that note, I think in this case, we try to mitigate things by maintaining communications among one another. There is a fear related to that people can burn out. And working at a decentralized autonomous organization, as I mentioned in my talk, we really focus on the A. And not everybody, that is the autonomy. If you can't, as an individual working at Dash, if you can't operate autonomously, you're very unlikely to succeed on the team. And I have fear for individuals who join the team and aren't prepared for the level of autonomy at which they have to operate.
Yeah, on this point, one of the risk mitigation factors is we have a lot of resources now. We have a lot of resources. I'll talk about that a little bit in my closing remarks, but this allows us to bring the very best and brightest on. Now, almost everybody on the core team is working for less than they earned from the job that they quit. And they're doing it without benefits, which I think we need to rectify, by the way. We're getting there. I'm working on it.
I'd like braces for my youngest daughter.
Got it. So people are here for the right reasons. They're not here to make a lot of money. They're here to truly change the world. Many of them do have Dash as an investment, so they want to see it succeed for those reasons too. But we're onboarding some of the brightest people I've ever seen in their fields. And when we have someone, people reach out to us at this point. And they say, hey, I'm interested in, what can I do? When we see an opportunity hire, we make it happen. And the sales pitch is, come change the world with us. And it sells. Let me tell you, people want to be a part of that. And we're able to capture anybody we want.
I was sold. That's what Andy said to me in the first week.
I wasn't referring to you. I was referring to the best and brightest.
Oh, sorry. My mistake.
But
No, go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no. Andy called me up, like when we first talked, the first week on my hire. He said, Chuck, it's time to change the world. I was like, let's get on it, brother. That was the deal. Questions? You want to add anything?
No, I think we're ready.
Hey, hi, I like the energy, Chuck, especially the way you speak about user experience, numbers, and data. And I personally believe in God. For everything else, I need data myself. So my question is actually to Ryan. While I was having lunch, I was actually multitasking. I was also listening to you telling somebody about how you put a contract or a will for your daughter, some example. So whenever I talk about a contract or a will or some kind of a document, the first thing that comes to my mind is Ethereum smart contracts. For me, with the limited knowledge, I believe that Dash is probably kind of a currency. But I would want you to elaborate on that and probably tell us how is that different from an Ethereum smart contract. Is that okay?
Yeah, so one of the big differences between what I think Ethereum is aiming to do and what we're trying to do is Ethereum is trying to design a general purpose computer. It's more like creating a CPU or something. What we're trying to do is much more narrow, although in many respects is much larger, which is we're trying to be a world-class payment system. And so that requires us to design the system in a different way. It's designing to a different set of requirements. Now, payments often have metadata associated with them, and we're going to provide ways for metadata to be hashed and stored and associated to the transaction itself. But they don't necessarily need to be run as a smart contract. They could simply be some data that's hashed and stored. And so in order to be a world-class payment platform, you need certain things. You need speed. You need low cost. Those aren't necessarily attributes of a smart contract system, which is designed to do virtually anything.
So you know how I talked about the vision of Dash, and we are in agreement, and it settles a lot of arguments on the team. One of the things that I clearly, hopefully most of the people in this room understand about Ethereum is that they never had the vision of being money. It's not in their interest to be money. They see money as a secondary attribute of their system. Money is a necessary evil to them, such as it is, so that those contracts are incentivized to execute by the miners. So there's a fundamentally different approach, whereas you have a utility service that executes code. We are a utility service that executes payments by comparison. And I think that's the fundamental differences in the vision. So when we're starting with money and building on top of money all the things that it takes to be an economy on top of money, that's a very different thing than we're starting with code and, oh, by the way, we need an economy in order to ensure that this code is secure and executed across all of the network.
That's a good way of putting it.
Sometimes people talk about the need to find a killer app for the blockchain to really catch up. And we believe there's already a killer use. It's payments. We all do dozens of payments every day. So we want to get that right. We want to be laser focused on that.
Yeah, the thing is, this use case hasn't truly been tested yet, in my opinion. As a payments expert, I look at the adoption attributes of a payment system for the consumer and for the merchant. On the consumer side, it's ease of use, speed, it's security, and it is providing an incentive to use it. There's no incentive to use Bitcoin. In fact, there's a disincentive. You pay the fee for the transaction. Very few payment systems outside of perhaps wire transfers does the sender actually pay the fee. And there are reasons for that. Merchants are not as, consumers just hate paying fees. Especially to spend their money, right? On the ease of use, it's terribly hard to use. If you've ever sat down anyone over the age of 40 and tried to get them to use a Bitcoin wallet, they're very confused right off the bat. They require a lot of coaching. You can't store information across different devices. It's not a very good user experience. So if you're trying to be digital money, you have to get all three of those things right. You know, the ease of use and the security. And they're very secure, by the way, but not in the right ways. They're irreversible transactions. You have no way to get your money back. So we're going to integrate into our platform the ability for payments to be moderated. And if you get screwed over, some insurance company, you know, someone providing the insurance on that transaction will give you the money back. That's user security. So if you aren't faster and easier to use than a credit card, you're not more secure than a credit card because you have no recourse if the goods or services are not delivered. And thirdly, it's a disincentive to use it. It's no wonder it hasn't reached mass adoption. So until we get those things right on some digital currency, we haven't tested the use case yet and determined whether or not it can reach mass adoption. We believe that it can. There are significant benefits to this technology, and we think if we get it right and apply those best practices towards this, we're going to hit a home run. Now, on the merchant side, it's the same thing. There's all the disincentives that came up earlier with the merchant question. What are you going to do for my conversion rates? Well, with Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies, if you implement them, you will see, I don't know why Dell or Overstock accept them. I can only think that it's for philosophical reasons because it's negatively impacting their business. I promise if they analyzed it, that would be the case. But if we, deliver the things that merchants are actually looking for, using payments industry best practices, get the merchant side, get the consumer side, get it right, we'll be able to access a market that's much, much larger than Bitcoin's been able to access. I promise.
And Ethereum, in keeping with the question.
We got a question on the side on the left.
Hi. Turn this on. Hello? Okay. To me, Dash is an inspiring project for two reasons. One is the very focused use case that you have for payments, unambiguous. And the other one is the way that it is set up as a DAO. Now, personally, if I look and I wanted to get involved, I'm hoping some other people have a similar situation. The way to get really involved is to start participating, looking at the projects that are being proposed, maybe propose one, vote, and you need a masternode for that. And today, the barrier to entry to have a masternode, I believe, is greater than owning a share of Berkshire Hathaway. Is there anything that you guys are planning to do to open that up?
So longer term, yes, we will have some sort of ability for people to have fractional masternodes at the protocol level. There are a couple of services that offer masternode shares today, but it requires you to turn your coins over to them in order to consolidate them and provide the 1,000 Dash input that it takes to collateralize one of these nodes. So there is a real benefit to users if we're able to expand that out and get, more users as quote shareholders or what have you. But here's the thing: we have a lot of work in front of us. Like I said, this is the most ambitious project that I think's been undertaken in the space up till this point, and the challenge is really daunting. So we need to decide where are we going to concentrate. I think the masternode system is effective right now at keeping us accountable. I think that it does a good job of incentivizing the plenty of infrastructure for the load that we're seeing today. There's no burning issue to go address this concern. We need to focus on delivering the actual product. And yes, our governance system is imperfect, but it is way better than anything anybody else has, and we could continue to develop it for the next 5 or 6 years and make it unbelievably effective.
Also, I would argue that voting is not the only way to get involved.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a proposal without being a masternode. You can get paid. You can do work. You can discuss other people's proposals. And yeah, eventually we'll have this fractional, trustless masternode system in place that will give people a fraction of a vote, and then there should be some kind of consensus inside the masternode, so because they only have one vote. But that's not the only way. There are many things you can do around. The only real barrier at the moment to do a proposal is the fee. We will work on that. But still, it's always going to be a high fee. It's 5 Dash at the moment, because the system should not have 2,000 proposals. Masternodes have a limited attention span. So there's some sense that the number of proposals is limited. Only those that are big enough and can have a big enough impact should be up there for voting. Below that, there should be some other system built in parallel. There's already people putting resources together to do things jointly. Teams that do the proposals and then a split. That's what we do at the core team. We don't have a proposal for each person. We have a joint proposal, and then we split. So there are many other ways to get involved, and I would encourage everyone to get involved, even if you don't have a masternode. The project is amazing. Many of the people who are working in the project don't own a masternode because, as you said, it's very expensive at the moment. But what we are doing is super interesting for every profile of people. There's work to be done in every field. So you want to get involved, get to forums, start talking to people, analyze proposals. There's no need. Voting is great, but it's not the only thing you can do around.
I'd like to share my story, if I could, on Masternode. And hopefully this will help a number of people in the room. When Dash was at $4, I had $1,500 worth of crypto. And I was chasing that Masternode. I was doing everything I could, living paycheck to paycheck, to get as much Dash together as I could to get that Masternode. I made this decision, I feel like it was around November of 2016. Wherever it was, Dash was at $4. I had $1,500, I'd been trading, and I was doing okay with my trading. But again, I'm working all day, so I couldn't get there. So I managed to turn that $1,500 worth of crypto into $4,000 worth of crypto. But by that time, Dash was at $8. And I managed to turn that $4,000 of crypto into $6,000. And then Dash was at $11. And I couldn't get there. I was upset. And I think I was then where you may be now. It's like, oh, I can't even get a Masternode at this point. It was just farther and farther and farther and farther away, and I couldn't get there. And I was upset. I was actually angry with Dash for the way that it had treated me. And so, so I said, all right, you know, after I suffered that loss of the Masternode and watched it walk away from me, I said, okay, well, I still want to be involved because this is a great system. I mean, if I wanted a Masternode that badly, I mean, there's people out there holding Masternodes that maybe enjoy holding them as much as they do. Maybe I can work for these people. Maybe I can contribute my skills. And this is the key point. You have skills. We all have skills. All of us have something that we can offer to contribute to this team, whether it's a proposal of an idea that's going to contribute to the network in some way, or it's reaching out to the core group to you know, say, how can I help? Or it's just, you know, communicating and sharing ideas and onboarding people. But in that way, I definitely want to become a Masternode owner. I'm not there yet. And I keep talking with the core group guys, and I haven't brought it up with Ryan yet, but I want to incentivize getting a Masternode for those who work for the core team. I want to incentivize that in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, getting a shared ownership. I imagine how beautiful it would be if we were all like owners of a couple of Masternodes, all the core group. Now we're going to be doubly interested, not only because we're getting paid and we're paying the bills with our work, but we are interested, invested in this system to make it happen to the future. And that's what owning a Masternode is kind of all about. And then you get to vote and you get your say. So yeah, I'm still a little bit angry with Dash about that. Not on you.
So you just want $350,000?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Can we make that happen?
I'll
you know
work
what'll
on
happen? He'll give me the 350, and then it'll go to 700.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we are going to build in, like he said. I mean, this is in the plan. We're going to work in a way investment tools. That's one of the products that we'll work in. And Dash won't. I mean, we may or may not be the ones who offer these investment tools in the form of Masternodes. There will be other business opportunities who can provide investment services using the Dash platform, and they'll be available as merchants on the market.
Also, there's another side to that question that many people have done many times. Why don't you just reduce the number of coins you need to have a Masternode? But
we don't need that much
we don't need
infrastructure.
that many servers. The network is already extra healthy with 4,500 very well-maintained servers. In fact, going to double that, if we decided to decrease the requirement to half, could be even difficult to handle at some point. So, because there are votes going through the network everywhere, proposals. So the Masternodes are there to serve the network. The network needs them because we need a second tier that is trustable as a class, and it is because of the randomness of the selection of quorums whenever they are needed. So they are already serving their purpose. The purpose is not to motivate people because then we would be limited to a very small number of people. We want to go to millions of people. So there needs to be a way to get people involved without the masternode. That's why we think there are these third masternodes or many other things we can do around, but the requirement is not likely to go down, because many people ask that all the time. Why don't you put it at 100? Or, I mean, there's no good number
It
to
would
that,
raise the cost of operation of our network.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, masternode rewards would remain the same as a percentage. So I think that we're starting to see the emergence of funds and things like that might be an investment vehicle if what you're looking for is the return. They would vote their shares on your behalf. There are other ways to do this besides doing it at the protocol level. And so, like I said, we're very focused on the end user experience at the moment. We will get to the things that you're talking about at some point.
But there's nothing to stop you from, creating an LLC and investors who want to own a masternode together. There's other opportunities where you can get investment. I've talked to a number of people. I know that between me and a couple of friends and our contacts, we're like, maybe we could get half the money together for a masternode and promote the rest and get other investors and share the ownership and incorporate around just owning a masternode. I foresee that as a future. I think that's going to be a future opportunity for communities and groups to invest and earn returns such that it supports those who own the masternodes as an activist group or a soccer club or a city or a country.
Oh, man.
How you doing? So you touched on something in your story that it makes sense, which is you were hurt by Dash, right? And so as we look at the adoption of the currency as it grows, I see a challenge where I don't want to spend the money because the value as it grows in the market continues to go and go, just like Bitcoin has. And so as a merchant, of course I want to take it, because if I take $1 today, it's going to be worth $4 in X months. So what are you doing to address the volatility of the value of the currency against the demand? So again, if I'm a merchant, sure I want to take it because you're giving me something that is not a 1-for-1. It's going to be a 1 times a multiplier for me to take and be able to make money on, versus if I take a US dollar, for instance, it doesn't change that considerably over the course of time. So if I'm on a site and I want to pay, why would I choose something that's going to make me money? It's almost like trading shares of a valuable stock versus using a regular payment system.
What you're saying is what would incentivize someone to give away an asset that or spend an asset that they believe will go up in value? Yeah, I mean, there are people that are investing in Dash for the purposes of investing in Dash because they believe in the project and believe that there will be demand for transactions on this platform. And that's fine. If that's your intent, you shouldn't sell your Dash. And that's your belief, then that person should not sell Dash. But we're trying to build a payment system, and there's nothing stopping someone from saying, hey, I need to send money to my mother in South America, and using a traditional payment method, that would take weeks. But I'm going to buy some Dash here, send it, she'll have it by the end of the day, or she'll have it in a minute, and that's fine, and then I can top back up for the next use. If you spend $1, that doesn't preclude you from topping back up with another $1. So you should, I mean, any user can hold the amount of Dash that they want to hold for investment purposes, and then they can use it for the transaction itself in any amount that they want. So I think both purposes can be served simultaneously. I spend Dash, I'm paid in Dash. I have to, right? I believe in its future. I think it's going to go way up, or I wouldn't be here. And so, but I have bills to pay. I have needs to live. And so, you're in the same boat. He's paid in Dash, but,
got bills to pay.
Got bills to pay. So people have a need to transact. we're going to fulfill that need. They also have a need to invest. They can buy a Masternode, they can invest in the coin because they think that the demand will go up. Those are two separate needs. So I think the answer is, if you're providing a great payment experience, there's nothing stopping someone from spending some of it and immediately topping back up with the amount that they want for an investment.
If the question is, what are we doing to address the value going up and the value going up competing with using the money as a medium of exchange, you're really looking at a fundamental economic problem, because money has basically three properties. And hopefully everybody in this room knows this by heart. You're talking about medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. And I'd like to just share for a moment, I sat down with a business owner a couple of weeks ago after I spoke at a meetup, and this business owner was very intrigued by Dash. It was his first introduction to Dash, and we met, a couple days later, and he sat down with me, and his first statement was, look, if I'm going to do what I want to do on your platform, then you need to solve the volatility issue. Up or down, up is great, but if I'm going to use the platform in the way that I want to use it, and I'm just, I'm obfuscating it for protecting him. If I'm going to use it in this way, he says, then you need to solve this volatility issue. And I think there's some relation there between what you're asking. And where I have concluded is, it is a fundamental economic issue, and that economic issue is a personal decision. And that personal decision is, how do I value Dash? Do I value the store? Do I value the medium of exchange? Or do I value the unit of account? I mean, I think unit of account is a ways out. You don't really care about unit of account until you have ubiquity and everybody is understanding what the value of one Dash is. So in this case, it's competing personal values, and you kind of have to work that out on your own. Yeah, in this case.
There is an issue with volatility across the cryptocurrency space. One thing that you'll notice if you regularly follow like BitMarketCap.com or CoinMarketCap.com and look at the volatility, Dash often has the lowest volatility. When the markets are crashing, Dash just doesn't crash that much. When the markets are going way, way up, we tend to get left behind a little bit. So we already have some of these attributes, and I attribute them to the Masternode network. Nobody wants to give up their Masternode, so the prices may be falling, but what if I sell and I can't get back in? That fear kind of overcomes the momentum fear that people see.
I know somebody that lost a Masternode that way.
Also,
so I think that the economics of the system itself kind of mitigate this, but the other way that you overcome volatility is through scale. When Dash is at $1 trillion market cap, I've read research on this. When you reach about the $1 trillion mark, that's when volatility really starts to tamp out and become less and less. Now that's 10 times where Bitcoin is, but I think we can reach a market 10 times as large as Bitcoin. At that point, you start to take on those attributes of true fiat currency, where the pricing is very stable from day to day and tends to change more over time. And so I think that we just need to grow our way out of this problem. It's not this fundamental economic issue is not going to be solved with technology. There have been attempts, by the way, with coins that try to lock up some of the supply in exchange for promises in the future, and when the price is going way, way up, they create more coins. They're trying to solve it with technology. This is fundamental economics. You can't get around it. We just have to grow into it.
Yeah, but even if we grow, it's not completely solvable. Fiat currencies have this problem too. You have different currencies. The Central Bank of Switzerland used to keep the exchange rate of the Swiss franc at around $1.5, I believe. I don't remember the specific number. But then they decided to stop that, and then the Swiss franc appreciated a lot, and many people got trapped in the middle. In the case of cryptocurrency in general and in Dash, at least you don't have people messing with that. It's the market, and this is a fundamental property of money, as Chuck said before. And only the market can move that, but we don't have someone moving those strings in the background. Although, as Ryan also said, probably masternodes being kind of locked up make us less volatile by design, but this is not going to disappear even if we get to $1 trillion. The volatility is intrinsic to money.
One of the models that I'm using scientifically, if you want to do some research on this, there's this growth model called the S-curve growth model. Raise your hand if you know what this is, what I'm talking about, the S-curve growth model. And it in the front, and I'm doing this for your perspective, it starts just very slow, right? And then you hit this J-curve, and everybody thinks that this J-curve, that's it. We've gone hyper Bitcoin, and like that's the end of it, and it's just going to go up forever. But that's not true. What happens is it goes like this, and at some point, it tapers off and flattens out at the top. And that's the part that Ryan's talking about, where we grow out of it. We got to get through that S-curve. And that's kind of what you have to plan for. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know how. Like, actually, my gut says 2020, 2021, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. That's fast. It's aggressive. Maybe 2025. I don't know. June.
Yeah, June. There's I think, I heard from Reggie Middleton at Consensus. He interviewed me. And Reggie Middleton, he's famous for having called the bubble in 2000, the stock market bubble. He called the crash of 2007, 2008. And so he does a lot of analysis on markets as a whole. And he said that he measured Dash from a risk-adjusted return perspective. It's the highest yielding asset he has ever measured. Ooh. And he said, you guys have lots of volatility, but the volatility is overwhelmingly on the upside. And he said, I don't count upside volatility as risk. So when you only qualify downward volatility and risk-adjusted returns for that, it's the highest he's ever measured. And I do attribute it to the masternode system. It was a freak accidental benefit that the mentality of people is when the price goes down, oh, Dash is cheap, I got to buy it towards my next masternode or what have you. And when the price went up starts crashing, people are not rushing out the doors. These assets are really difficult to measure what their value is. How do you measure what the value of a Bitcoin is? You can't. There's no economic model that does that today. And so it tends to be momentum trading. And when the momentum is going up, we've seen it, what these markets can do. And when the momentum is going down, that works against you. We actually don't hype our coin for this very reason. We don't go out there and say, hey, don't miss out, and have these types of ads running. It's because that's a bad attribute to have it going up and down and up and down. And those are not the type of investors we want. We don't want people who are here because they think over the next week it's going to go up. And the next week, they're the ones rushing out the doors and causing the price to crash. People are here for the long term that are invested, as far as I can tell. And so I think that's what makes us more stable. They really believe in the vision.
Yep. Yeah. I hope we've answered your question. Would you? I mean, does that give you some perspective?
Yeah, we've answered it like 12 times.
Sorry.
So.
We've got about 5 more minutes, so maybe one more question we can go through.
I think this one is next.
Hello, my name's Denzel, and I'm based in London here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
A little better.
Yeah, okay. My name's Denzel, and I'm based in London here. My question relates to 2 comments that you made earlier, Ryan. The first one you said was, we at Dash are trying to design a world-class payment platform. And in answer to an earlier question, you said that one of the things that concerns you is the question, are we making any decisions which we will need to re-engineer if we get it wrong? Now, I believe that there is a conceptual flaw in the design platform, and what I'd like to do is get your view on what's the best way of bringing that analysis to you and your team whilst you're here in London, so that you get the benefit of that insight.
I would say my first answer is a Dash Nation Slack. Reach out to the development team and say, hey, I've got this thing, and you could probably be put in touch with the right people.
Yeah, I mean,
think.
the Dash.org website has the entire team on it.
Yeah. So you can
And-
email us.
And so, depending on what the issue is, and that you'd like to raise, you can at least hone in on what the right area of the organization is, and target one of the team leads there and try and talk about it. If it's more of an economic issue or something like that, I'm not, probably I'm the best to reach out to as an initial contact, and I can steer you in the right direction. So, did I get the essence of the question, which is, how do you?
Yeah, if you've identified an issue, what's the best way to get that under discussion or resolved or addressed
Yeah, that's
in
the
some
best
way?
way. Notify us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Matt presented before the vulnerability he had found in instance, and he reached out to the team, and it was solved. And
we took action quick.
yeah, we are quite open with outside contact.
Maybe one more.
I think there's a hand up over here. I'm not sure where the microphones are. Oh, you have one. Oh, okay.
Yes, I have a microphone. One silly question, because we are standing up front one big revolution in Dash. And after that one step, you want to put more and more information to the blockchain. Are you prepared to jump from gigabytes of data into petabytes of data?
Yeah, so to make this clear, and you're the best one to answer this one, but to make things clear, all information is not going to be stored on every single masternode. So
that's right.
You could talk more about the differentiation between the transaction data itself and the other data.
Yeah, so I didn't go into this technical level of detail, but I think in this case it may be helpful. The data that we're talking about will be stored on an IPFS system with an Orbitz DB on top. And so the information is going to be encrypted and stored across multiple master nodes. There may be some levels of redundancy. Those are the things that we're going to tweak as to how much redundancy there is across the system. But when you create a username, for instance, that's going to get indexed and associated with a transaction, and then any additional data is not going to be written to the blockchain directly. It's going to be stored in a separate product, Dash Drive, as our storage mechanism. And once it's stored and confirmed to be stored, the masternode quorum will hash the results of that data onto the blockchain along with that. So we're storing minimal information directly onto the blockchain itself. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody? Anybody? I'm right? Okay. so that's the plan. And with that, we won't be 100% reliant on the masternodes necessarily to store that data, but they will be highly incentivized to do a good job doing it. So managing petabytes of data, yes. If we're managing petabytes of data, that means our network is ginormous, right? It's huge, which means those masternodes are being well incentivized, probably to the tune of tens or hundreds of $1,000s a month. So they should have the necessary capital to upgrade their hardware. And then beyond that, we're going to offer open source hardware through Dash Labs that's going to be MIT licensed, so anybody can build the hardware, but it's going to be specifically designed to manage those levels of transactions and data. So the answer is yes, we definitely have, if you look at the roadmap, a plan to handle just exactly that.
Yeah, there are a couple of articles by Evan Duffield, the founder of the project, in Medium. If you look for his name in Medium, he has several in-depth articles on how all this would work, the hardware that Chuck was mentioning, that he's currently developing with a new team. So now we just need the users. That's the easy part.
Yeah, yeah.
Please give a big round of applause to the staff here. Brian,
Thank you.
Fernando, Chuck.